is there to see where you are at. Where are you at? And it's meant for small workshop owners, for business owners. We want to see where they are at. They need to measure or work out where they are at financially. And then thereafter, they need to see what do they want to invest in tools. So we give them a starting point of where to start. Someone also asked me a question. If they buy the book and they lose their phone, what then? It's your problem that. If you cannot look after a resource that can provide you, if you don't take a valuable resource seriously, then I cannot safeguard you. Then I also suggest don't buy my book. Then a lot of guys, when buying the book, they jump ahead. They won't do the benchmark. For me, do the benchmark, understand where you're at. If you're going to put 20,000, how quick do you want that 20,000 back? Are you going to panic now because you put 1,500, you paid 1,500 Rand for a book, now you have sleepless nights? Don't buy the book. You need to be able, business is about risk and how to mitigate that risk. We have tried to make things a little bit easy, but we cannot, there is no 100% guarantee. But I can give you a structure of where and how to get started. So there you figure out where you are. If you want to have 30,000 and you want to make that 30,000 back in a month, you would break it up and see what do you need to do to make that 30,000 back in a month. Is it possible to do it? Yes, it is. Nolu, Gabriel, how long has Gabriel been here?
4 days.
4 days. 4 days, he's done his first IMO off, right? What IMO off did he do? MP9 ECU, that's in the book. Procedure, the process to do it, the file to do it is in the book. And I'm not thumb sucking things. Everything that we're showing you does work. And I don't have time for lazy people who want to learn ECU repair. You have to be able to put the time in. You have to put the effort behind it. The other thing with newbies, and the other thing about the book, is in that book we have an exercise about programming a imaginary robot. I've given you that instructions because as mechanics, many mechanics and auto electricians are brilliant at what they do. They're brilliant at looking for signs of failure. They're looking for signs where there is mechanical damage. They are smelling, looking for burn marks. Burnt. It's the word we often hear auto electricians use. My ECU is burnt. Most of the time, it's not the ECU. Nothing wrong with the ECU. Sometimes it is. When it is the ECU, a lot of times it's not hardware failure, but software failure. And many of the times on many occasions, we would find that, for example, because they don't understand the relationship between input and output and the basics and how a computer boots up and how a computer follows a set of instructions, they diagnose vehicles incorrectly. And for me to get you to start thinking logically of how a computer thinks, that is why I created that exercise. Program your robot to make a cup of coffee in your home. So you program it so that it goes to the kitchen. So you would be the robot. And you would write a set of instructions that you need to follow to the T. We used to do that as an exercise during our 30-day class here, just to get the guys to think and see how computers follow a logical path. And what we would then do is we would then get them to follow that same path to our kitchen and see if their robot can make it there. And that will highlight mistakes that they would make. How do you know when to stop pouring the water? How do you know when you tell the robot how many spoons of coffee to add? I don't know if you guys get my drift or understand where I'm going with this. Do you understand, Wanda?
Yes.
So that is what we want them to do. Because, for example, I was busy with a GWM, a Bosch ECU manufactured under license by China, and the firmware on there is slightly different. So the checks that the ECU would do on startup was different. So we couldn't apply a patch that was made for a similar ECU found in a German vehicle because the software was different. The hardware of the ECU is 100% the same, but the software inside the ECU is different. And in that particular variant, the ECU jumped to a different address to verify the immobilizer status. But to get to that stage, to get to that stage of troubleshooting, you need to carry out those exercises. They might seem simple, but they are important. Something else we find with mechanics, they would buy the book to solve a single problem. So they jump to that problem and they would try to solve that problem. So for example, we have had somebody who had some problem, bought the book, and he was prepared to buy the 7 GV IMO files for the Polo. But that told us he didn't read the book because the files came with the book. So if you want to buy the book, you have to put the time in to read the book. What we are also going to be doing is we are going to be taking the kids, and I'm going to select 10 of you who I can see. You need to tell us a bit of a story about yourself, about your workshop, and we will give you access to, I'm working with Wanda over here. Wanda and I will be revising our electronics course because you need to have a basic understanding of electronics and you need to have a basic understanding of how electricity works. That is a no-brainer. Before you do anything in this industry, you need to understand that. We have too many guys who don't understand the very basics of electricity and they end up making simple mistakes. We have guys that are killing control units because they're programming at too low a voltage. They don't understand the relationship between current and voltage. You'll hear the guy saying, 12 volts, but then he's busy programming an ECU. He's got one of these small tools with a 12 volt and a 1 amp power supply. So he doesn't, I say, no, but it is, then it'll tell you, no, but it is 12 volts, but he doesn't understand the relationship between current and voltage. Okay, I'm not going to get into too much of I'll get into this. We'll shoot various videos where I would explain, I would answer some of your questions. And like most of you are asking, can the book be used to repair ECUs? Yes, it can. There are certain failures, for example, where if you want to troubleshoot the ECU's power supply, but there again, you need to understand how electricity and you need to understand how computers work. Computers going down there. You could use the EEPROM. No, most of our failure that we've been dealing with this week is where? Is in memory. And what is the first type of memory that we need to learn? Is EEPROMs. So that is why we started the book with EEPROMs. I was thinking of adding microcontrollers to the book, but if you don't understand how a normal physical EEPROM works, why jump to microcontrollers? So start off with, if you want to buy the book, start with the EEPROMs. Get to understand how EEPROMs work. Get to understand offsets. Get to understand addresses. Like I said, we are going to run some classes. We are going to have a private channel where we are going to invite anybody who bought the book. They will be welcome to follow our youngsters here as they implement the lessons in the book. So can the book be used to repair ECUs? Yes, it can. Inside the book, you would find a variety of files, virgin files. So once you understand what a virgin file is, you would know how to apply it. And when getting started in this industry, you will learn that a library of files is one of your first assets you want to build. Getting together a set of files for, like now, we were busy repairing a weird new problem we are experiencing in Mercedes-Benz trucks. And we have had to obtain a lot of files. I had to buy some files. I spent just under 10,000 rands for some files. And then I had to spend more money on somebody who has mapped out those files. But I know that in future that is going to become a valuable asset for myself. So getting started with the book, you're getting the value of the files exceeds the value, and the content exceeds the money that you are paying for the book. You're getting much more than what you are paying for. Wanda will demonstrate to you now what we are doing. We are revising our electronics course. So Wanda, can you tell us a bit more?
So this is the electronics course, and basically the game, which
So what we have done is we're converting the course to a game. We are revising the traditional electronics. Like when you study electronics traditionally, you don't know where you're going to see a resistor. You don't know where you're going to see a MOSFET. You don't know. With our course now, we are. Okay, Wanda, you can continue next one.
okay. As so I was saying, for example, I recently just graduated from NMU with a degree in engineering for mechatronics, and despite the plentiful practicals that we did, it wasn't really as practical into the real world, because you have to cover a large basis of things and knowledge without getting into that much of specifics. Now, when it comes to, say, the automotive industry, there can be slight differences and hiccups that you will have to encounter. So just understanding those basics will be very fundamental. So with the game and course, the electronics course, it's very simple and very practical, in a sense where you don't need to be worrying about what the types of bonds which form, which happened to cause a conductor with a difference of an insulator and things of the sort. You just need to know what they are and just the basics, and it runs through them in a very practical and easy manner without having to worry about the physics and too much of the math of the basics.
History, when it was invented, when we want you to practically understand how to apply the principles. If you look at the principle of induction, for example, we're going to use the principle of induction. We'll explain to you where it's found in vehicles, how to test it, and just get a basic understanding of how that works.
So and now basically just revising, changing a couple of things, adding, supplementing what we already have with this game, because as it is quite comprehensive, and it goes through what you would need to start off on your journey as a person who wants to
repair computers, repair ECUs. You have to understand electronics and the basic components that we encounter in when we repair these control units. If you look at that Mercedes-Benz truck, it's MOSFET failures. And at the core of a automotive control unit, we would have small tiny computer there that turns things on and off. And it's all about how it turns those things on and off. The microcontroller can only switch 5 volts.
5 volts.
5 volts at a very low current.
Current, yes. Between on and off states, and a lot of information can't be transferred properly, and a lot of functions won't function at those low currents with that voltage, for instance, and would need heavier currents, or even in some cases heavier voltage, higher voltage. Yes.
So with that, the microcontroller needs the assistance of stuff like
MOSFETs, the transistors,
smart switches. So those are all the type of things that we are going to put into the course. And the first 10, not the first 10, I will select 10 people out of our who buy the book will get the course free of charge. Thereafter, Wanda and I will work out and we will announce the pricing for it. We will do it with a little kit with so that you can follow along as well. Thank you very much.